Alright folks, here we are at the GEST The Challenge 3. So this is the third of the events that pit the best of Southeast Asia against some of the best teams of China. And they seek to duke it out and declare, which scene has their finger on the pulse of the game a little better during this time. So we've done this two previous go-rounds. I believe LGD China won one, Orange won one. And here we are at the third. The four teams competing are mith.trust and Mineski, representing Southeast Asia, and Rattlesnake and Vici Gaming, representing China. Now, we do have two games running concurrently. So I want to mention right now that if you're looking for the Vici Gaming versus Mineski Best of 3 series, that is going to be held over on twitch.tv/BeyondTheSummit. This, of course, is twitch.tv/BeyondTheSummit2. I am Vickermond, and we hope to cover a very interesting series here between Rattlesnake and mith.trust. Now, two teams with somewhat different styles. One second, I'm just going to check the audio real quick. We do have audio. For some reason, it's not coming through tremendously loud. Yes, I had it muted. My bad, folks. Rattlesnake versus mith.trust. mith.trust, a team that we've typically thought of as more of a 4-protect-1 oriented style. They put Lekels on a hard carry, the rest on the right heroes to sort of support him in his quest, and he gets extremely huge. But one thing that we've seen mith.trust branch into lately are multi-core lineups. So they've sort of started running 2 or 3 primary farmers in some games to mixed success, but as any sort of experimental lineup would be. And here we actually see mith.trust securing 2 cores for themselves very early. They have the Alchemist. Their Alchemist performance has been actually very, very high. In all but one game that Lekels has played Alchemist, he's gotten over 1,000 gold per minute, so we'll have to see if he manages yet another 1k plus gold per minute game, but if he does, I definitely see mith.trust having a pretty easy time. Of course, their other pickup is Razor, and this is a little earlier than we typically see Razor drafted, but I believe that this is geared towards 2 things. One is handling the Lifestealer at pretty much every stage of the game. Razor is considered a stronger and stronger direct counter pick to Lifestealer because they're able to, you have this static link that will work on the Lifestealer regardless of whether he's infested or whether he's using Rage. And of course, you also have his other tools against him as well. So that's one aspect of Razor. Another aspect is that he's one possible way that you can try to lane against Outworld Devourer. One of the difficulties about laning against OD, of course, is this Astral Imprisonment, giving him a tremendous amount of base damage that he can just use to zone you out or get a lot of denies. But Razor can static link, and that will go a long way towards sort of balancing that lane, if that is indeed the matchup that they go for. Let's move over to Rattlesnake and check out what they've been doing. They actually ban out Batrider and Weaver first. Weaver is a hero who's been gaining more and more currency in the scene. He is a very strong carry, especially part of a multi-core lineup. He can deal, if you're seeking to draft a Lifestealer, a Weaver ban is frequently smart, because Weaver does very, very well against Lifestealer. Pretty much at every stage in the game, up until the point that Lifestealer is able to get an Abyssal, that's pretty much Lifestealer's only shot to take Weaver in a heads-up duel, assuming they both have farm. So that's a solid ban from Rattlesnake, their other ban, of course, being Batrider, and then they secure for themselves the Lifestealer and OD. OD is quickly moving towards the status of being a first ban, first pick worthy hero, as he's just so incredibly strong in lane and delivers a tremendous amount of damage after that. He also, one of the other aspects that makes the Outworld Devourer so strong is that he really forces the other team into going a lot more magic immunity oriented than they normally would have. Against the Outworld Devourer, you really typically don't have much choice but to stack up on Black King bars and hope for the best. mith.trust are continuing to respond to Rattlesnake's picks here. The Bane is a good support overall, but also considered to be one of, if not the best tools to respond to Lifestealer from the support angle. His Enfeeble will persist even if Lifestealer rages, and of course his Fiend's Grip will disable Lifestealer even through the rage. So mith.trust definitely seeking, this is a very responsive, some might say reactive draft. With the exception of the Alchemist, which is more of a just secure this hero because he's so strong, we can't afford to let him slip through and potentially have the other team grab him up. And like I said, their track record with Alchemist is extremely good. I believe it's something like 6 wins and 1 loss with this hero, so mith.trust definitely going to try to start off on the right foot here. This is, just as a reminder, a best of 3. So even if one team should lose this first game, they still have a shot to make that up in future games in the series. Rattlesnake picking up a support for themselves. They take Crystal Maiden. Crystal Maiden, of course, a support that just by herself is sometimes able to provide enough in the way of disables and pseudo-disables that Lifestealer can get in to cast his range-shortened open wounds. So, of course, open wounds has a range of only 200, so that's just larger than melee range. It's longer than 1 melee distance, but shorter than 2. So you have to be very, very close to land that big, slow, and life leech on a target. Now, Crystal Maiden can get you that close, of course, because she has a strong slow on her Crystal Nova that has a long duration, and she also has Frostbite, which immobilizes a target for a fairly long time as well. So that gives Rattlesnake 2 tools in 1 for getting this Lifestealer into a fight. And the Nature's Prophet gives them a vehicle to take him anywhere they want. If Lifestealer should have, if for instance they have Luo on Lifestealer, he will have no trouble getting to a fight or even pulling off ganks on a hero like Bane, simply because he can use Infest to get inside of the Nature's Prophet, and the Nature's Prophet will carry him to wherever he needs to be. So that's a potentially scary combo that Rattlesnake could bring to bear. I would expect to see this Nature's Prophet either start in the solo lane or just go to the jungle directly. This might be one of those games where, other than putting some treants into the Radiant jungle to block camps, Nature's Prophet is probably going to head to the jungle sooner or later, simply because the lockdown from Bane, Alchemist, and another is going to be very, very strong. So if it does end up being a 3v1 lane, I expect to see Nature's Prophet exiled to the jungle at some point. The Bane Alchemist lane Bane can walk up, use Nightmare, and that gives all the time in the world for Alchemist to charge up his Unstable Concoction, which is such an incredibly strong stun. 150 damage if you let it charge the full duration, and that's at the first rank, and it's physical, so if there happens to be an Acid Spray or some other armor-reducing effect on you, you may very well take more than that. Mith.trust going to look to amp the damage, so they take the Lina. She's going to provide a lot of damage ramping up onto this lineup. Razor, of course, going to be a very strong early to mid-game hero. He is a carry, but he doesn't carry that hard into the late game, simply because a lot of his spells don't scale. One thing we've been seeing lately with Razor is actually a approach where they take Aghanims and then eventually Refresher. So that is something that gives him a lot of scaling potential and as well as great push. We do see that Mith.trust's lineup has next to no tower damage, so Aghanims for the Razor, if he does well, may be a good way to go. But there's still a lot of other routes. You can just get tanky. That is another option that Mith.trust have. Rattlesnake, meanwhile, are going to be seeking to score themselves basically another support. You see Mith.trust banning out the Leshrac, and actually Rattlesnake take Juggernaut, so this is pretty cool. I like watching this, certainly. Jug is a fairly unusual hero to see these days. We do see a few teams like MUFC drafting him for sort of a pushing pair with the Lone Druid still, but he's a hero who's somewhat fallen out of favor because basically the reason Juggernaut was so popular was that combination with Lone Druid. So when a lot of teams stopped playing Lone Druid, they also stopped playing Juggernaut as well. But here, actually, Rattlesnake take the Juggernaut in a fairly unusual capacity. What we may see here is actually Juggernaut support. So, of course, he's got this spin, the Blade Fury. This does a tremendous amount of damage, but you sometimes can't get in to cast it, right? Now, Crystal Maiden, like we said, is a hero who basically packs a slow and a pseudo-disable into one. So because this hero is able to bring those disables, Juggernaut can come in, deal a lot of damage. Additionally, of course, that healing ward is fairly substantial for pushing, even if your only push is a Nature's Prophet. So this gives them some push. It gives them a little bit more lane flexibility. The cost is that Juggernaut brings no disables to the table. He's got a mini stun on the first hit of the Omni Slash, and that's it. So they'll really have to make sure they eke out every bit of use from that Blade Fury, because this will not scale into late game as damage. It is amazing damage early game if you're able to keep most of the duration of the Blade Fury running, but as the game wears on, it'll do less and less and less. So Rattlesnake, I mean, why do we love watching this team? A big part of the reason is that they go with fairly non-traditional drafts, and this is certainly veered into the non-traditional with this Juggernaut pick, but all the better for us viewers, I think. Once again, this is GEST, the Challenge 3. Mith.trust versus Rattlesnake, best of 3. It looks like Rattlesnake are just reconnecting to the game right now, and we will get started ASAP. Let's look at the two teams. Over on mith.trust on the Radiant, going to seek to counteract this Lifestealer and get into good position for the game to come. We've got TNK on the Bounty Hunter, most likely in the off lane. The tri-lane will be composed of R5, R5 on Lina, SD on the Bane, and Lakel's playing as I guess, a sleepy face. It's +__+, but we're just going to call him Lakel's because, of course, this is mith.trust's famous carry player, one of the best farmers in the world, Lakel's, on the Alchemist. And that leaves Abba to go up on the Razor in the middle. And that's one thing that I'm going to watch with great intent, because we have not seen Razor placed up against Outworld Devourer very frequently. But we could very well see it here as we look up towards Rattlesnake, the Chinese team. Rattlesnake, of the 4 teams in GEST, the Challenge 3, this is the only team of these 4 that's actually going to TI3. So, of course, in the Eastern qualifiers, they defeated Vici Gaming 2-1. And that gave them the second place position, because they did lose to LGD China. They will be playing against Quantic to start off TI3. And that will determine who actually will be in the main event. One team will be sort of the 17th team. They will stay in Seattle, but they will not be playing. And the other team, they will actually get a chance to participate in the main event. So Rattlesnake wants to be that team, and for that, they need to hone their skills in the last couple of weeks. This is a team that's had some trouble getting consistency, and so we're going to hope to see them not just have these surprise picks, not just have creative drafts, but also be able to consistently perform. So, Rattlesnake, Kabu on the Crystal Maiden, most likely going to be supporting. We could potentially see a dual mid situation for some time just to shut down the Razor. He will be joined for this early phase. No, he's just going off towards the tri-lane. That makes sense too. Kabu on the Crystal Maiden will be joined by Lanham on the Juggernaut, and Sag is actually on the Lifestealer, which is an unusual choice. We'll talk about that in a second. But we will have Juggernaut and Crystal Maiden on the top. It looks like we'll have Lifestealer potentially in a solo bottom position, so solo hard lane. And then Icy looking up towards that jungle on the Nature's Prophet, leaving Luo on the Outworld Devourer mid. So this is very interesting, I have to say. Lifestealer offlane is something we see, I would say, fitfully. Against certain laning compositions, you are able to get experience simply because your rage does a lot of work. Now, let's keep in mind that the rage cooldown was nerfed, it was increased. So there will be interim periods, if mith.trust can force the rage out, that Lifestealer will probably not be able to approach the lane because he'll simply get locked down. So we'll have to watch pretty intently to see how Sag is actually able to perform in this offlane capacity, because it won't be the easiest thing in the world for him. It does look like for at least some time he'll be joined by Icy on the Nature's Prophet, so we could see, oh, actually, TNK already being hunted, but no. The Bounty Hunter gets away, they put down a Sentry Ward here, Kabu and Lanham, so we essentially have no Sag looks to be rotating. So Rattlesnake playing a little bit of musical lanes early here. We just do see Luo blocking the camp, as of course both players blocking as it comes in. A little bit more success for the Outworld Devourer. You can see that the creep equilibrium is going to start towards the Dire side, and that's definitely a good start for the OD. So Abba versus Luo in the middle. Static Link will continue to run even if Razor or his target are in Astral Imprisonment. So that's one thing that we'll have to watch. I think Razor actually could do okay if he times the Static Link correctly. And that will give him enough damage to contest this lane against the Outworld Devourer. This is something a lot of people have been theory crafting about, but we haven't seen it in practice that much. So we'll have to... I'm definitely going to be very interested in what happens in this lane. Now, Sag, meanwhile, is actually jungling on the Lifestealer. So TNK is playing this bit of spoiler role on the Bounty Hunter. He can try to go for last hits. You see him snag one right there. That'll slow down the Lifestealer's jungle, and of course, Lifestealer, not the fastest jungler in the business to start with, so he won't be happy to see an additional slowing effect on his jungle from the presence of the Bounty Hunter. And Sag just continuing to ruin Myth's day here, ruins the creep pull that Crystal Maiden was going for. Kabu wanted to pull the lane. TNK says, no, I'm going to disrupt it as this Bounty Hunter here, and just move over to where the Lifestealer is farming, continue to try to steal last hits. He may be in range of the... No, he's not in range of the Sentry, so he'll be just fine to steal some farm here. So that's Bounty Hunter's plan. He knows that he can't really approach the lane. Lanham and Kabu will take him apart, simply because once the Sentry Ward is down, Bounty Hunter is as good as dead. So TNK would much rather jungle, steal some experience here if he can, than try to fight the Juggernaut Crystal Maiden where he's almost certainly going to die. So that's a smart decision on his part. Meanwhile, if we looked up towards Rattlesnake's offlane, we're probably going to see what I think we anticipated, which is that Icy is just using these treants to deny farm. He's using it to deny the jungle from SD and R5, and for his own part, we'll see him sooner or later move up towards the jungle. But for now, it's enough for the treants to do work. Abba, he takes this one right in Unstable Current. Now, each time that Luo uses Astral Imprisonment, it will proc an instance of this Unstable Current, but I don't believe it will actually remove the Intelligence Steal, so we'll still have a lot. Oh, TNK, they're going in on Luo here. Here's SD, but he does not get the Nightmare off, and he actually takes a couple hits from the towers, so Outworld Devourer moving properly, rotating, and that'll put him pretty safe. I think Dota's still a little quiet, so I'm going to turn it up a bit for you folks. Not exactly happy with the game volume here. Alright, that should be a little better. Please let me know in Twitch TV chat, I'll check it in just a second as to whether the volume is okay. So, looking up towards this mid lane performance, I think Razor is actually holding his own. Here's actually the first static link, but oh, I'm so sorry about that. Actually, I missed the first blood up in the top because I was messing with the volume. As I said, when Bounty Hunter tries to approach this lane, he's actually TPing back already, but Lanham's here? No, he's got 13 seconds left on the Blade Fury. And Lanham going for a pretty cool approach here. He's a bit more farming oriented, a bit more carry oriented on this Juggernaut. Lately we see more and more Juggernauts going for the healing ward, but here he has primary Blade Fury, secondary Blade Dance. So they do get the kill already on TNK. Juggernaut doing quite well, 17 for 12 in the top lane. But of course, Alchemist is farming freely as well. Lakel's, he's going this heavy Grievel's Greed build, 2 in Unstable Concoction, probably 3 in Grievel's Greed in a moment. But Juggernaut, of course, with that extra first blood gold, has a little more gold earned to date. Again, sorry about missing that first blood. Hopefully we won't have that happen again in this series. So in this Outworld Devourer versus Razor lane, I think Razor is one of the few heroes who you can reliably expect to see do as well as against Outworld Devourer as he's doing. He's managed to get a decent amount of denies, so 5 denies, 6 denies to OD's 7, and comparable last hits. So even though OD essentially has rune control, Razor's been able to hold his own, and TNK, even though he has a death, is about level 3, whereas Icy, you see, has only been able to approach the lane a little bit, so he moved when SD was rotating around. So he's level 2. Here comes the stun from Lakel's, actually. He's going to drop the Unstable Concoction, but Icy's right under tower. Can they actually pursue this? They're going to keep whacking him. There's the Light Strike Array. Dragon Slave to follow. One more melee. Yes! They secure the kill with Lakel's as Alchemist, and that'll be a good start for him, especially considering Juggernaut was able to earn first blood. Meanwhile, TNK, he's open wounds. Here's the Shadow Walk, the dust coming out from Kabu, and Outworld Devourer comes in to mop that up. Kabu actually picking up the last hit on that Bounty Hunter. So 2 deaths for Bounty. He's 1 death more than Rattlesnake has in their offlane. But TNK is leveling okay. A little bit of a nightmare here on the tree and to try to prevent it from ruining the creep pole again. That's a smart move. Actually, Kabu is smoked up. They want to follow up this kill with another kill. Sag is smoked up as well in the Lifestealer. There's the Astral Imprisonment. Razor is in a lot of trouble here. The Open Wounds comes out again, and Stable Current is proccing twice, but Abba simply does not have the HP to live through a concerted effort of 3. And Crystal Maiden doing quite a bit of work, showing why she's a hero who's once again considered viable in the metagame. Even though she's not the fastest hero in the world. Oh, Omni Slash to take care of TNK in the top, and Bounty Hunter on the ground again. Rattlesnake off to an early 4-1 lead, and mith.trust will have to be careful to make sure that they're able to keep this game relatively stable until Alchemist becomes big enough to handle it. I mean, they don't really have vision, is one of my concerns. There's no wards covering especially this top rune or this top jungle area.
Radiant's top tower has
Lanham picking up he didn't get the last hit on the tower, but they do pick up the first tower here. I think a ward here or somewhere in this general vicinity would be extremely useful for mith.trust. Right now they can't secure any rune control or even know which runes are being picked up.
Dire's bottom
And the other concern actually, yeah, Rattlesnake with an aggressive ward placed here now too. Sorry folks, I'm just working off of a cold myself here though, so gotta keep hydrated. And here comes a gank. Actually, SD and R5 are smoked up. So Lina and Bane will be seeking to rotate around, generate an opportunity. They finally put a ward up. Here's the static link already on Luo. He doesn't realize the gank is coming in. Will they actually land it though? No! Outworld Devourer is safe again, and just excellent game sense by Luo to actually get himself safe on a consistent basis. And that's 2 gank attempts from mith.trust now, failed on this middle lane. And meanwhile, Bounty Hunter no longer even has a safe top lane to come to because there's no tier 1 tower. So the lane is pushed far in, so he will be able to get another level here. He's level 4. Going to really, really want that level 6 if he can afford to. And Abba, he is doing a successful job of zoning Luo a bit. So you can see the Luo's farm is sort of flatlining. Simply that static link doing a lot to ensure that Razor is able to get the better of this. You can see 123 damage now with the static link up. OD only 37, so Razor, one of the very few heroes that's able to sort of imagine that, right? That's able to think, hey, I can actually more or less trade with an OD mid unless a gank comes in. Bounty Hunter pushed off lane once again, and actually, they've got a siege creep. Rattlesnake are going to use this to siege up the tier 2 tower a little bit. Omni slashes up. Keep an eye out for this. If Bounty Hunter de-stealths and there's no creep wave, Lana may just seek to get another kill up. Meanwhile, Abba just continuing to hunt Luo up here. But TNK's got to be extremely careful. I don't think he can really approach this lane, and I think this might be Kabu and Lana, even with no ranks and healing ward for Juggernaut. Sorry about that, folks. Even with no ranks and healing ward, they can perform a very effective slow siege of this tower. You can already see about 1100 damage done to it. And that'll eventually be a dead tier 2 tower and more advantage for Rattlesnake. Mith.trust doing an effective job of zoning OD out from the rune there. But you can just see Rattlesnake's vision is very, very excellent. They can tell if Razor is rotating one direction or the other. And in the absence of smoke, they can also tell where Mith.trust supports are moving. Oh, there's the dust. There's the Omni Slash to follow and spin. Yes, Crystal Nova actually picking up the last hit on TNK. And Bounty Hunter now with 4 deaths. This is part of why we saw Bounty Hunter sort of departing the metagame. SD rotates around, but Luo will know this is happening. Here's the static link. This might actually be a little more successful for Mith.trust. There's the ultimate coming out from Abba. Luo, Astral imprisons himself, but this will just be more and more stacks on the static link. Here's the Light Strike Array, very nicely timed. And that will be the last hit for Bane Elemental. That's a nice kill, an important pickup for Mith.trust because, again, they have to try to stabilize this game. They were down 5-1 in towers. Crystal Maiden actually getting excellent farm. We'll have to see if Kabu goes for that phase boots build that we've been seeing more lately, or if he goes for a more safe boots choice. Meanwhile, I see in the bottom, sieged up by TNK and Lakels. A very smart rotation for TNK here. He is now level 6, has this track available, and he knew that he was not able to approach the top lane anymore. Juggernaut is simply doing far too good of a job. Sag, here he comes into the middle. There's the open wounds onto Abba, the Frost Nova, and the ultimate. Kabu, with the freezing field, scores another kill. 4-0-1 on this Crystal Maiden now, proving to be an absolutely inspired choice on his part. 4-0-1, he gets the last hit on Razor. Again, this Frostbite is doing so much work this game. The complete immobilization is just extremely important for them. And even though Abba's done well, that's his second death. He only has 1 assist to his credit. Of course, Mith.trust only have 3 kills on the board. And the main good news, Kabu actually goes Tranquils for the Crystal Maiden. The main good news, if you're Mith.trust, is that Alchemist has been able to farm unimpeded. He's got 61 last hits at 10 minutes, which is very, very good. 20 denies, so he's been able to deny a lot of XP from Icy in the solo lane here. And he's also just been able to level Grievel's Greed with impunity. So he has max rank of this. He's running in once again with the Stable Concoction and the Shadow Blade. Icy will see this, but there's very little he can do. You can just see the tremendous damage of that ability. Dragon Slave to secure the last hit. But here comes Lanham. The spin coming through. R5 in a lot of trouble already. The spin hitting on 2. Mith.trust, I've got to be careful that he doesn't get a double kill here. 1 crit will do the trick for Lanham, and he improves to 3-0-1. Here's Lakels re-entry. He knows that the spin is not available. Here's the stun coming out. Lanham takes a lot of damage. TNK is here, the track, and that's the first track kill for Mith.trust. But will Kabu be able to bring down Lakels? I think he will. Yes! Nature's Prophet actually already last hit there as he teleports in, and TNK rushing out of here, but he's sprouted up the dust coming out from Crystal Maiden, the Wrath of Nature from Nature's Prophet. 1 more hit will do it. Yes, a double kill for Icy. But buyback from Alchemist. He's running back in, but no. Lakels can't get back in. He just ends up stunning himself. He will resume his farm, but all he has to his name is a Shadow Blade, and let's keep in mind that this is a hard carry Juggernaut. He's gone this Perseverance first. This indicates that Juggernaut will be going for Battle Fury. Here's a static link. Bane Razor. This is a classic combination because of how long you're able to keep that static link running. But did they break it too early? Kabu's here. The Sanity's Eclipse. There's the Frost Nova, and yes, Kabu manages a kill on Razor. Mith.trust gank completely turned around. Astral Imprisonment now on SD. There's the open wounds, and of course the Rage for good measure. Icy meanwhile being brought down, but the Bane, 1 more hit. No, he gets away from the fight. TNK chasing out Luo. Yes, the Shuriken toss will finish it off. And that's a critical kill for mith.trust. They get another track, and they get a kill on the OD, who was once again starting to get out of control. But Lakel's brought down again in the top lane. Let's take a look at what actually killed him. It was Juggernaut with the Omni Slash, which is, of course, now rank 2. So 2 quick deaths for Lakel's, including 1 after buyback. That's going to be a bitter pill to swallow for mith.trust, because, again, the thing they were most happy with was Alchemist's state of farm. And his state of farm is now heavily impinged by the fact that he had to buy back twice. You still see him with 500 gold per minute, but he has dug into that by spending some of his unreliable gold for that buyback. Should say spending both is reliable and unreliable. So Lakel's nest egg, down to about 700 gold. He's going to have to start from scratch. And Juggernaut's farm now exceeds his just on a pure last hit basis. Now, Lanham is going straight for that Battle Fury, and it's just a very bold move from Rattlesnake here. Just their draft in general was quite bold, a little bit greedy, but so far it's been paying off. They're 11-7. They're a little bit ahead by most metrics that you could judge by. If we look at levels, I mean, this Crystal Maiden is the main story of the game for me still. Kabu is level 9 on this hard support Crystal Maiden. And the mith.trust supports are still at 5. They don't even have their ultimates. So Bane doesn't have access to Fiend's Grip. Lina doesn't have access to Laguna Blade. And so in reality, other than Bounty Hunter and of course Alchemist, they actually don't have that many tools to kill Kabu easily. And he can get away from most fights as long as his Tranquil Boots is still up. And Juggernaut topping the level charts at level 12 as well. So just overall, everybody except Icy on Nature's Prophet having a grand old time. And Icy can catch up on XP quite easily as soon as he picks up the Midas, which he is going for. TNK just chased off of lane again. He can stay here for a little while. There's no detection up on Lifestealer. He's just holding a smoke. In the mid lane, Outworld Devourer. I mean, this is the other story of the game for me. Even though Rattlesnake are in a fairly dominant position, the Razor mid against OD has actually been fairly effective. It's only the constant intercession of Kabu's effective ganks and the lack of effective ganks from mith.trust that have tilted this lane in Rattlesnake's direction. The balance of the 1v1 lane is actually quite favorable. Will Sag get picked off here? Nice stun from Lakel's. He gets very close, making sure that they aren't able to do anything about it, and the Lifestealer won't have time to rage. That's a nicely pulled off gank. And meanwhile, Kabu, they land him, and Kabu found somebody. R5, R5. He has no recourse here. He's slowed down by the Crystal Nova. Just throws out a Dragon Slave to attempt to do some damage to Kabu, but Lanham easily mops it up with that spin to win. Luo, meanwhile, pushing into the middle, and this will provide a very nice transition. Lanham has the levels now to have both his healing ward and, of course, the crit maxed out. So they're going to siege the mid, while, of course, mith.trust sieges the top. We've got Lakel's TNK and Abba up here, and I have to say, TNK has recovered very well after sort of a grim start for him. He was 0-4-0, now he's 3-5-1, and all 3 of those kills, of course, having track attached to them. The assist did not have track because it was before he hit level 6. So a tower for a tower, I have to say this somewhat favors Rattlesnake. Taking out this tier 1 mid is just such a positional advantage. Really gives you a lot of map control to work with. Lanham, meanwhile, chasing in. Keep in mind, he has this rank 2 Omni Slash, but a nice Nightmare defensively by SD completely makes the Rattlesnake gank not happen. So that was a very nice move, very on the ball from him. And he will retreat on out of here while Rattlesnake just seeks to segue. I think they seek to parlay this into just another push. They've got another healing ward in just about 5 seconds. The Juggernaut is only 200 away, so basically 1 tower hit or a creep wave away from finishing off that Battle Fury. And again, this is just so bold to say, yeah, we will farm our Juggernaut against your farming Alchemist. We're not going to go the sort of Juggernaut just speed and efficiency build with Aghanim Scepter, Manta Style, what have you. We are going to go the hard farming Juggernaut build. We're going to pick up that Battle Fury. We're going to farm against your Alchemist, and we're going to do it in style. And so far, Lanham keeping up in net worth more or less. mith.trust seeking to take a tier 2 in exchange for a tier 1, but the tier 1 just drops so quickly that I don't think they can afford to. So that's a free tower for Rattlesnake. Now with that tower down, they can start to get some map control over the Radiant Jungle. A key area if they want to restrict the possible area that Lakel's can actually farm up. And I'm still looking for Lakel's next item. Will it actually be that BKB to survive teamfight engagements? R5, R5 just going right on top of himself. No, the Omni Slash will say no to his TP out. And Lanham, keep in mind, he's still carrying a Lifestealer inside of him. Very smart by Sag to not infest out when there was absolutely no point in doing so. They may seek to change into a Roshan attempt. No, they're just going to loop around, possibly. Yeah. They are going to Roshan. We're going to see Sag definitely drop out here. Once they actually get Roshan, they can open wounds him. Yeah, there's the open wounds. That'll get Roshan to heal them very effectively in concert with the healing ward. They will take barely any damage at all from this Rosh. The Treant's doing a little bit of tanking. He's now locked down by the Frostbite. This will be a Rosh dropping pretty quickly, even without any sort of medallion. Force staff up for the Outward Devourer as well. And they pick up the Aegis for OD also. I think that makes sense. He's the one with the fewest defensive tools on their team. And so 2 lives for him is just a little more likely to get procced in the next 6 minutes than 2 lives for Juggernaut or 2 lives for Lifestealer. Lanham, of course, with that burst of income from the towers and the Roshan, he now has 1,500 gold on top of his Battle Fury. So this is a Juggernaut who's going to become extremely effective and actually scale into the late game much better than you often see Juggernauts do. He's got the early levels, he's got the early farm, he's actually 2 levels above Lakel's on the Alchemist, which is quite surprising. And just to be on par in terms of last hits with one of the best farmers in the world is also very, very impressive. Lanham now farming the Radiant Jungle. As I mentioned, now that they took down both of these tier 1s, mith.trust defensive pass into the jungle actually not as effective. They can go to the tier 2, of course, and come out here, but just in general, this is a fairly safe place for Lanham to farm. He takes away the farm from the Alchemist on the opposing team, and he gets it for himself. Stacked Ancient Camp here. This is one of the things that SD and R5 did fairly diligently, and this will be a lot of XP for them if they do decide to stick around, as well as, of course, a lot of gold for Lakel's. He did go for that BKB, but this is a smart move. If mith.trust seek to fight, or they know that Rattlesnake are going to cause fights, it's going to be critical to have that BKB in Alchos. But you can just see he's actually not that tanky yet. And he's not that effective yet. He has level 2 of the ultimate. Level 3 will be even more effective, but he does need the intercession of his team to make sure that he clears this Ancient stack out without tying himself. So the entire team helping out here, 5 players all in the Ancient stack. It does get them some of the level bounty that they so desperately wanted. Lakel's actually runs out of chemical rage time, but they do pick up this entire stack in the end. That's a decent amount of gold income for the team. That was a majorly stacked Ancient camp, so smart of mith.trust, and just in case a gank was attempted by Rattlesnake, they had the entire team there to respond to it. And that would have been necessary because, of course, they took so much damage from the Ancients. You see Lakel's limping his way on home after picking up that Ancient stack. Game's pace is slowing down a little bit. The reason for this is Rattlesnake feel that they earned enough of an advantage that now they can use this new Battle Fury on the Juggernaut to farm up, as well as get the levels back up on the Nature's Prophet, get levels on the rest of their team. They're doing quite well. You can just see that their level clumping is so tight. They've got, other than the Juggernaut, everybody is 10 to 11. Crystal Maiden is a hero who, if she dies a lot early, just frequently struggles being at the right level to be good in the game. But here, because of Kabu's amazing early start, 5-0 and 4 on Crystal Maiden, he is just much higher level than you expect him to be. He has a 4-level lead on the supports of mith.trust. Now, even with a level lead, Crystal Maiden is a hero who does not scale quite as well into the late game. And with Tranquil Boots, if he does take a little bit of damage in a fight, he's as likely as not to simply die in the fight, because he can't walk away from it, he can't get out. But that's okay. Crystal Maiden has already served a tremendous purpose, and here's the smoke gank, all 5. They do want to continue being aggressive. They understand that a slow game in some respect will favor Lakel's no matter what on this Alchemist, so they want to try to, if not close it out, at least pick up some kills. But a very nice reaction from mith.trust. They're actually hiding out here in the jungle. They have not TP'd out, even though they all have TPs, so I think we may see them attempting a pincer. No. Alchemist will leave. They still haven't seen Rattlesnake. They aren't quite clear on where they are. They did have a sentry ward here. I think it briefly maybe saw one of the members of Rattlesnake, but not enough vision to be confident that they could attempt some sort of flanking maneuver, and I don't blame them for this at all. Razor, Abba, most likely picking up a BKB as well. Like I said in the drafting phase, when you're up against this Outworld Devourer, you rarely, if ever, actually have a choice. You basically need to make sure that that BKB comes up. So both Razor and Alchemist already done with his. Razor will be making his. He's about 2/3 of the way there. And Bounty Hunter, I would expect TNK to also go BKB, frankly. He just doesn't have the gold for it just yet. He's gotten good gold income from the few tracks that he's gotten, but they simply just haven't killed anybody in a while. mith.trust just haven't been able to rack up those track kills the way they'd want. TNK, he does spot out Icy. Will he make an attempt on his life? We got level 11 Bounty Hunter versus level 11 Nature's Prophet. I think he can actually do this. The Nature's Prophet has 0 charges on his urn, no heals. There's the initiation. Track coming up. The thing is, he has to save his Shuriken Toss. He has to get either a kill with it, or he has to interrupt the Nature's Prophet with it. Here's the second thing. He's got to toss it right now. He's got to get this kill. He gets the kill, but he's trapped inside of a Sprout. Sag puts that open wounds up. TNK trying to TP out. He manages to make it out. Oh, no, he doesn't. The Infest will pick him off, but they do kill Juggernaut in the middle as well. So very nice Infest by Sag securing the kill at the bottom, but nonetheless, finally, a kill on Lanham. 6-2 and 2 now. That'll be farming time lost for him on the Juggernaut, because of course he's down on the ground for another 40 seconds. And mith.trust seeking to parlay this into a tier 1 tower, so the ultimate up from Abba. They're sieging this tower quite effectively. It's now at 400 HP. They've lost creeps though, and R5 has no more mana to pursue this. Luo taking a very confident step forward. They've got 25 seconds left for Juggernaut to come back. He does actually have buyback, so he could come in. Does he have TP? No, so he can't come in. But Rattlesnake, they deflect it. It's too scary against this Outworld Devourer and Lifestealer. Keep in mind, of course, that the OD has 2 lives, so there's no way you're going to prevent him from using Sanity's Eclipse. So mith.trust, I think quite intelligently, they back off a little bit. And Kabu's still alive. He's just picking up tons of support items for his team. We could see him get something like a Ghost Scepter. I think it could be very effective for him this game. He's just going to pick up support items until he has the gold to pick it up outright. But I mean, Rattlesnake, even if you would call their draft somewhat greedy with 4 farming heroes, and the Juggernaut, of course, taking a hard farming approach, they are doing a decent job of farming them up. So you see the Lifestealer, Nature's Prophet, Outworld Devourer, and Juggernaut, all with about 300 GPM or higher. Jug, of course, quite a bit higher. The one issue I have here for Rattlesnake is I feel like there's almost not enough farm to go around for everybody. So you've got this Juggernaut with a Battle Fury, right? So he cleaves, he can clear out a jungle. But the Nature's Prophet wants to be jungling, the Lifestealer wants to be jungling, and the OD wants to be laning. So unless you have complete control of both jungles, your ability to actually get farm for all those heroes is somewhat limited. So we're not going to see OD go way ahead on farm unless they get a lot of teamfight kills. We're not going to see Lifestealer really improve from this position unless he gets a lot of teamfight kills, or he goes Midas, which at this point it's way too late to get it. He will have Armlet Sue, that'll increase Sag's effectiveness dramatically, but again, it's basically a support Lifestealer, and you really want your Lifestealer to be dealing a little more damage than that. It's another scaling issue. Now, as we get into the very late game, the scaling will once again improve, and if Lifestealer gets very late without too many deaths to his credit, he'll be very strong relative to, most supports. But for now, the Lifestealer is not going to be doing that much, especially once you consider that Razor is going to respond to Static Link. Now, the cool thing about Rattlesnake's choice here is we pick up Lifestealer early. You apply what some might call an overcorrection to it, right? So mith.trust, they got the Razor and the Bane, both as Lifestealer countermeasures. Now, Razor, of course, he did very well against OD and lanes. There's that too, but they're smoked up, by the way. But basically, Rattlesnake's idea is this. Oh, you respond to our Lifestealer very heavily with the assumption that he's going to be playing the 1 role? We'll just put him in the 4 role. And then you've wasted, or we feel that you've wasted 2 picks responding to our 4 role player that won't necessarily be as effective as the rest of our team. Now, of course, Bane is still quite good against Juggernaut, although, I mean, Omnislash won't really be effective. Oh, meanwhile, we do have... Where the heck is Lakel's right now? He actually stunned himself. Here's the Omnislash going out on Abba. He used BKB, but he gets brought down immediately. Of course, physical damage from that Omnislash. So with Razor on the ground, having just used this BKB, mith.trust have no choice but to flee, and in fact, SD completely caught out here. There's the open wounds. Uses Nightmare for the invisibility frames. They went a little bit too far forward here with Icy. He gets picked off quite quickly. Icy on the Nature's Prophet just sometimes makes these weird decisions. But did he bait them into an engagement that they don't want? There's the BKB from Lakel's. He's trying to run up to the high ground. He's completely out of mana, so he has to go back. 2 for 1 so far for Rattlesnake, and just this Razor dying so quickly really cost mith.trust in this engagement. They're going to pick off this tier 2 tower fairly easily as they just completely clear the creep wave. And nice work from Rattlesnake, of course. Completely the 10-second Black King bar charge from Abba on this Razor. Completely disused. He's 0-4 and 2 now. Not having the greatest time. He laned very effectively. He got effective farm, but the BKB just not a good response to that Omnislash from Juggernaut. Not going to keep you alive. Kabu continuing to rotate, and again, Crystal Maiden now completed the Ghost Scepter, still with no deaths. How often is it, folks, that we see a Crystal Maiden with no deaths at 26 minutes in the game? 0. It's really quite remarkable, and Myth.trust supports have done a decent job of not dying too much as well. Actually, that was SD's first death this game, but because of that early effective jungle denying from Icy, because of the fact that the jungle has been completely taken over by Rattlesnake every time they go to the bottom lane, you just don't see the levels, you don't see the farm coming for the supports. Urn and tier 1 boots for SD. We've got pretty much nothing other than arcane boots for Lina, so. TNK, here's a fight coming out. Lakel's once again at BKB. TNK cops a lot of damage. There's the continuing chase. One more hit from Arcane Orb will do the trick. Will he actually be able to walk away? They no longer have detection. Icy TPing in not a great position. Lakel's, though, he will stun himself again. The reinitiation is just not coming out for mith.trust the way they want. They're not getting these unstable concoctions off, and that's a problem for them. Rattlesnake continuing to chase them out, and no kills, actually. Delicate situation, but that's the second charge of BKB from Lakel. So this is going to be ticking down in time, and the closer this gets to those dreaded 4-second mark, the easier it will be for OD to handle, because OD, of course, completely shut out of dealing damage to a hero while that hero is in BKB. The Arcane Orb won't do anything, the Sandy's Eclipse won't do anything, and he can't Astral Imprison them either. But if the BKB is only 4 seconds, you could just wait it out, put yourself in the prison if he's fighting you, and then just come out Sandy's Eclipse, and you're good to go. Rattlesnake, they're going to try to take the second Roshan, but not if mith.trust has anything to say about it. There's the smoke gang coming in. Abba, he will be leading the vanguard here. He needs to start tossing out his spells, but no, he's going to take the entire Omni Slash again. Razor on the ground. Fiend's Grip up on Lifestealer. A lockdown on the OD. He's already on the ground. Buyback already coming out for him. Lina already dead. TNK trying to disengage from this. Lakel's, he's stuck inside of a Sprout, completely locked out of this fight, and now the entire force of the opposing team bearing down on him. Rattlesnake still chasing this Alchemist. He's going to need to toss out this unstable concoction. He's throwing on Lanham. He's going to run out. He's got 3 seconds left for a Shadow Blade. There's the 4-staff Astral Imprisonment. Icy is here. They're going to Sprout him. Here's Sag as well. This Alchemist is in so much trouble. The dust up for a Shadow Blade, and Lakel's gets picked off. A nice use of teleportation by Nature's Prophet, and a great 4-staff from Luo. And mith.trust, they pick off the Crystal Maiden and the OD. They finally kill this very, very hardy Crystal Maiden, but they lose a dramatic amount. They lose both of their farmers, they lose the support, and they do not interrupt the Roshan. Rattlesnake taking control of this game. Alchemist still the leader on the net worth board, but Juggernaut is hot on his heels. Lanham now with a full Manta style, the Battle Fury, and he's just picking off Abba with his Omni Slash every time. Razor, typically is a hero so tanky, so capable of surviving whatever the other team can throw at him, that you want to put him in first. You want to send him in to tank up a lot of damage and start that duration of the static link. Razor wants to get into a fight early and stay in a fight, but unfortunately that's backfiring for mith.trust here. The Juggernaut has been such an effective pick, because as soon as Razor runs in, whether he has BKB running or not, that Omni Slash is so dangerous. And the other problem is Abba has just gotten out of range of his other team members, so the Omni Slash has no opportunity to jump to anybody else. Now, of course, you don't want anybody else taking damage either, but if Razor is not tanky enough to take the entire duration of the Omni Slash without dying, all of a sudden, you're -1 to start a fight, and that's not a position that you want to be in. That's the position that mith.trust have found themselves in for 2 straight engagements. Lanham, again, farming out the entire jungle. You can just see he takes all 3 camps and just leaves. Razor actually accidentally, TNK blocking this camp by accident, so they won't even get the 3 camps on the respawn. They only get 2 camps. Lanham. 9-2 and 4 on this Juggernaut. A very impressive performance thus far in this farming role. Keeping up with the Alchemist in this situation is just incredibly impressive, simply because of the way that Alchemist works, the way that this hero is known for. But it's this Lakel's, again, because he had to go that early BKB. BKB does almost nothing for your farm. Assault Koros does a tremendous amount for your farm, but he's only just picked that up. So the fact is, Alchemist has had nothing improving his farm other than Shadow Blade for the longest time. So even though he's getting a lot of gold out of it, their lack of map control and his lack of items to speed up how quickly he clears out those camps has just meant that he hasn't really been able to get that gold per minute up. So like I said, almost every game we see Lakel's Alchemist just soaring up towards that 1,000 gold per minute mark, but as a combination of Rattlesnake's picks and their general strategy, he has not been able to do that this game. He's not been able to sort of exceed that. 557 is good, but for an Alchemist, it's actually not tremendously impressive. So, and for Lakel's Alchemist, it's doubly not tremendously impressive, so to speak. Rattlesnake planting down some aggressive wards here. You can see they really want complete control of this jungle. They have a tier 1 tower still standing here, so they've locked out pretty much this entire stretch of map from mith.trust, and that's very, very effective when you're trying to reduce the amount of farming space that the other team has. Keep in mind, they've got 3 people they want to get farmed. The Bounty Hunter, the Razor, and of course the Alchemist. But the Alchemist is now going to have to, by necessity, be very greedy and take most of that. So that means almost nothing for TNK, that means almost nothing for Abba, and this is particularly painful for Abba, because, you know, he hasn't been able to survive. Oh, he takes the Ghost Scepter, so continuing to just be tremendously reactive. He wants to use this Ghost Scepter against the Juggernaut Omni Slash, so if Juggernaut jumps on him, this is actually pretty smart. I actually like this Ghost Scepter. Now, Razor, again, this is not damage, this is not scaling, and Razor's a hero who doesn't scale amazingly well. But, if he runs in solo, and Juggernaut jumps in on him, if he Ghost Scepters immediately, the Juggernaut's Omni Slash will be completely cancelled. It won't jump on anybody else if Abba is way out in front of his team. So, if he cancels the Omni Slash, then that's a lot of damage taken away, and he can BKB immediately afterwards to remove the Ghost Scepter off of himself. So, the issue with Ghost Scepter is, right, you have magic vulnerability, so the OD can just go to town on you. But, if he uses the BKB to remove the Ghost Scepter from himself after getting rid of the Omni Slash, all of a sudden he's good. He's completely fine for the rest of the fight, because he's no longer as worried about physical damage, and he doesn't have to worry about magic damage for a while. So this is a very smart pickup. The issue will be, can they leverage it? Rattlesnake sieging the tier 2. Easy pickup for them. mith.trust does not feel confident enough to try to contest that, and they just walk away. Lanham building towards what looked like a butterfly when I last looked at it. Yeah, this is the Eagle Song, almost certainly butterfly here for him, and that'll make this Juggernaut, even outside of Omni Slash, even outside of Blade Fury, a force to absolutely be reckoned with. Other thing, of course, is if you're Blade Furying a magic immune target like a BKB'd Razor, you can hit him. So having a lot of attack power, a lot of speed will be very useful for him. I see. Farming up this this Ancient Camp with the Nature's Prophet. He's got a decent grip of items at this point. Picked up the Mechanism since, of course, Kabu has just been very, very selfless because he's the only real support in this game. Because, you know, you have basically 4 cores. The rarely seen quad-core lineup. Because the Crystal Maiden doesn't really have access to any farm, she's just bought up the Ghost Scepter and has been getting every single support item. So for teamfight items like Mechanism, you really have to rely on the Nature's Prophet, and that's why he picked this up. He has the Force Staff on top of that, and actually getting a decent amount of gold as well. So he's going, if he wants something like the Scythe of Vice, he can pick that up fairly soon. Maybe Vlad's for Lifestealer wouldn't be out of the question either for some AoE armor. Where's their gem? Their gem is on Lifestealer, I'm watching right now. Scythe of Vice up for Outworld Devourer as well, so outside of BKB, this team is extremely fearsome. And you know Lakel's has been using that BKB down to 7 seconds, so very anticipatory of Rattlesnake with these. 1 Scythe of Vice, potentially a 2nd Scythe of Vice soon to come for Icy. Yeah, he picked up the Ultimate Orb. This is almost certainly Scythe for him. Meanwhile, looking up towards mith.trust items, they're not out of this game just yet, just because Rattlesnake will be able to eke out a little bit more farm doesn't necessarily mean that mith.trust have no chance. They still can take a team fight, they still can do very well. Do they have this level 2 ultimates? Yes, they do. Level 11 for both Bane and Lina, so doing a little bit better. Still behind where the Crystal Maiden is at, but this gap has narrowed, right? As Rattlesnake have focused more on pushing and staying together as a team, the Crystal Maiden's farm has slowed down, and Bane and Lina have been able to leverage a little bit of that farm that Alchemist is getting simply by staying close. So, Skullbasher up for Lakel's. He's going to seek to turn that into an Abyssal pretty soon, I feel. I think that will be the next logical pickup for this Alchemist. And having that Abyssal will be very effective. Lock down somebody like Outworld Devourer, lock down, maybe even lock down the Juggernaut. That would be a huge coup for them, frankly. With the amount of damage that Lanham is able to put out, locking that down would be huge. TNK just finished his BKB as well. Now, he won't have buyback, but that might be okay for your Bounty Hunter. You mostly just want to keep him up through that assault of magic damage that the Outworld Devourer can put up. You don't want that Bounty Hunter Scythe of Vice and just taking a quick drop. mith.trust to come back into this, with heroes like Bounty Hunter and Lina, you need to win a team fight and have the Bounty Hunter stay up to put track on everybody you kill. If they win a big team fight and they track most of the kills, like let's say they take a 5 for 3, but every single one of those 5 are tracked on the Rattlesnake side, mith.trust will be very happy with a trade like that. They're going to come out of that smelling like roses, basically, because it'll be such a huge gold income for them. The issue is, of course, they have no outer towers. Rattlesnake still has 3. They've got the tier 1 here, lets them put incursions into the bottom jungle. Additional issue is you've got Roshan coming up in 2.5 minutes. Mith.trust have very few ways of dealing with this Roshan, right? They have to smoke, basically, they'll most likely start the Rosh here, or here. What Rattlesnake are going to do when this Roshan comes up is push a lane, probably mid, all the way to this high ground. Then they'll either smoke, or they'll just directly run, or they'll TP to the tier 1, and just come in on the Roshan pit. And that gives a very narrow timing window. Mith.trust have to push the lane back, smoke, and then go this way into the pit to try to interrupt it, if they want to interrupt it, if they don't just want to let it go. And keep in mind, I believe this is Roshan number 3. So it's a Roshan that's going to have cheese associated with it as well. Luo up in the top here, hiding with the Lifestealer. Will they try to make something happen? I don't think they have any boots of travel. They do have Nature's Prophet, of course, but I don't think they can necessarily do something here. TNK, have they actually spotted him? There's the ping. There's Lakel's. Luo will seek to fight. There's the BKB up for Lakel's and TNK. Was this a mistake? Luo, the Laguna Blade, picks him off. Sag in a lot of trouble. Fiend's Grip as well, and Rattlesnake. That was simply unnecessary. They lose 2 very quickly, both the Outworld Devourer and the Lifestealer, in a fairly unnecessary loss, and it hasn't even really generated the split push pressure, because Icy's down here, sure, but really this is just going to be a bit of tower damage. And yeah, we already have TNK returning, so yes, they used a couple BKB charges, but those are easy kills for Mith.trust. They had no trouble at all securing those, and that's out OD on the ground. No buyback. He's picked up Ghost Scepter against the Alchemist, smart move, and no buyback for Lifestealer. He's Basher, so that's 30 seconds that Mith.trust can act with relative impunity. But Rattlesnake, this is very smart. This is the exact correct approach that they need. They're going to push in the lane as much as possible so that Mith.trust can't take advantage of this. Lanham starts the siege. Here he is, Manta style, and going up on the high ground, but this is trouble actually. They've had to use the fortification. 10 seconds remaining. Only 10 seconds from Mith.trust, and yes, they don't feel confident. They have to go back. Lanham with a spin coming in. Nice job actually. The reason he spins, so the reason Lanham spins there is because if he tries to TP without spinning, Shuriken Toss from the Bounty Hunter with its mini stun can interrupt that TP. So he chooses to Blade Fury TP in so that he can come in no matter what and make sure that he actually deflects Mith.trust push. So smart move by Rattlesnake. I mean, honestly, Luo and Sag coming in there could only be termed as a mistake and an unnecessary bit of a feed, but they made up for it completely. You can actually see a 1244 on the tower here, and they did a little more damage to Mith.trust's tower than Mith.trust did to theirs. So completely effectively stopping Myth from being able to take advantage of their blunder there. And Rattlesnake, here's the third Roshan. Again, they push the lanes in, here it's the bottom lane, and they take the Rosh. This is going to drop tremendously quickly. Mith.trust, you see them moving towards the Roshan pit, but there's no way that they get here in time. There's the Aegis, there's the Cheese. Aegis for Juggernaut, Cheese for OD. That'll give them a lot of staying power. I think I might have liked the Aegis on the OD actually, rather than the Cheese on the Juggernaut, rather than the other way around. But this is just fine as well. And Lanham, he's so enormous on this Juggernaut. He has almost as much net worth as Alchemist. Again, almost as much net worth on Juggernaut as Alchemist. And here they're smoked up. He's got Battle Fury, Manta Style, Butterfly, Aegis, 2 lives on a Juggernaut who's going to be very effective. And of course, Omni Slash for immunity, Blade Fury for magic immunity, and here they are, all smoked up. Can they catch the supports? Because that would be a big deal. Lina does not have buyback. And R5, he's trying to play pretty safe, but as soon as he throws out a Dragon Slave, if he does, they'll know he's here. Oh, he's sticking to the high ground. That's very smart. They don't quite know that he's here. They don't know that SD is here. And Rattlesnake, of course, they haven't been spotted out either. They're going to just parlay it into a push. They've successfully zoned Mith.trust. Now it's time to push. Does TNK have a TP? Yes, he does. He's building towards his Vladimir's offering here. And there's the Dragon Slave, there's the Tier 3 Siege. They do still have a fortification up for Mith.trust. Of course, ratification for the last push. Lakel's coming in from behind. Here comes the Unstable Concoction, but he is Scythe of Ice. He didn't use the BKB. That's a lot of trouble for Lakel's. He's BKBing to get out of this fight now. TNK coming in. He, of course, has his own BKB as well. Sag locked down by the Basher so far, but Lakel's, he's in a lot of trouble. Luo still taking damage. Abba comes into the fight, but has to leave as soon as he did. 3 already on the ground. Sanity's Eclipse to follow. Luo still chasing. He doesn't have 4 step. There's another Astral Imprisonment. He's in trouble. Kabu still has Frostbite available. Oh, there's the Fiend's Grip from SD, but he's going to just drop for his troubles. And that's 4 on the ground. An ultra kill for Lanham. Icy and company are going to mop up these barracks, and this could be Rattlesnake possibly taking game 1. There's the first set of racks. I'm not sure, but we don't have buyback for Lakel's. No, we actually do. He has barely enough buyback. There it is. Abba and Lakel's still up. Lina in 6 seconds. Can they make something of this? The Tier 3 in the middle already down. Rattlesnake sieging still. Abba, Scythe of Feist. Kabu, there's the Frostbite. No. There's Lakel's trying to reinitiate. Trouble for Crystal Maiden. There's the Acid Spray down. Nice defensive Astral Imprisonment. The Static Link coming out. Alba doesn't want to kill Cabo anymore, I feel. But here's the turnaround. Scythe the Vice up on Lakel's. R5 are already on the ground. Abba going to have to flee as well. Will they throw out the open wounds? Yes, they do. Another couple Arcane Orbs and damage from Lanham will do the trick. Lanham, he hasn't even used the Aegis yet. He still has 2 more lives. Abo has the buyback. He has the Unstable Current up on Luo. Where's the Static Link, though? Can they even chase him out? And meanwhile, Lakel's, even with the BKB, chased by Lanham, chased by Sag. He only has a little bit of health. Yes, he manages to Shadow Blade away. That would be the death of Luo. Finally dropping 74 seconds. Abba uses BKB. There's the Static Link to try to reduce Lanham's damage. SD with the Ghost Scepter. Very, very smart move from him. The Static Link is broken, though. SD, he's still in trouble. There's the Scythe Device coming out from Icy. They pick him off again. No buyback available for this Bane, of course. And Alchemist, he just comes back home. Lakel's back in here. And keep in mind, Juggernaut, he's still got 2 lives. He's almost at full health. Open wounds helping so much there, and of course the healing over time from the healing ward. Here's Lakel's again. He wants to just land this right up on Lanham. Lanham spinning right out of this, but he's actually stunned up by the Basher. Will they use Abyssal as well on him here? Yes, the Abyssal comes down. Lanham, 4-staffed. He comes back in with the nice Ghost Scepter response to the Omni Slash, but there's the Infest. There's more damage being thrown out. Breaking the Static Link there, smart, and Abba will go down. No more buyback available. Lakel's, he BKBs. This is his last hope, but his ultimate ran out, and so TNK immediately deflected out. They do still have this gem available for Sag. Yes, 1 more hit, and it's a godlike streak for Lanham. And Rattlesnake, they're just going to lop off Myth.trust's head right here. They go for the Mega Creeps. No, there won't be time. Myth.trust GG's. GG, Game 1, Rattlesnake up 1-0, semifinals of GEST, the challenge, and very effective play. A 4-core, 1-support lineup for Rattlesnake, insufficiently punished by Myth.trust, extremely effective early Crystal Maiden ganks, segueing into tremendous Juggernaut carry potential as the game went on. In the end, 15-2-8, the scoreline for Juggernaut. And Crystal Maiden, even with this 5-3-8, you have to realize this was no deaths well into the 28-minute mark for Crystal Maiden, and that's a really remarkable performance. I would actually say Kabu, probably the MVP this game. Myth.trust, something to be said for them as well. They played a very good round. TNK had an extremely difficult start, but he managed to recover. They got good farm on Lakel's, as always, nearly 600 GPM, even on the losing side with no outer towers for a large portion of the game. They had difficulty making the Razor count, I feel. The laning was very good in the sense that he was able to hold OD to not that many last hits, but he did get ganked a couple times. Their ganks to mid were not successful, and so even with some success in the mid, even with being able to keep this Outworld Devourer down to some extent, Myth.trust weren't able to earn that mid-game advantage that you hope to get with a Bounty Hunter, and they actually were not able to outfarm or outplay Lanham's Juggernaut. Let's move into Game 2, folks. You're watching Beyond the Summit 2. I am Vikramond. You can follow me on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube. I love to hear feedback about my casting. We will be going up into Game 2 in just a moment. Thanks for watching.